This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
One more day of uncommon cold. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. Yeah, hang in there, folks. We will gradually start to warm up from this big chill. The icy grip will relent starting tomorrow. Governor Hochul still urging caution if you're out and about today. She says no unnecessary travel in some of those lake belts, which have been getting socked with snow the past several days. Blinding snow, in fact, making travel treacherous at times. And those sub-zero wind chills aren't helping either. Buffalo Mayor Chris Scanlon.
If you are going out, if you are leaving the house, please use an abundance of caution. Please bundle up.
Town of Hamburg resident Bill Carver was shivering while he was shoveling his driveway this morning.
A few extra layers today, and just trying to stay warm as best you can, and don't stay out too long for sure, right? Get your stuff done and get back inside.
Important to note, folks, when you're driving in conditions like this, the road salt doesn't work that well, so slow down. Also, it doesn't take long for frostbite to set in on exposed skin, so play it safe if you're in the great outdoors today. DEI Go Dark Date. That's the other big story today. Today is the day the federal government must cease and desist with its controversial hiring practices. Reporter Chris DeMeo.
President Trump is moving to end affirmative action in federal contracting and is directing all diversity staff to be put on paid leave and eventually be laid off. The moves follow an executive order the president signed on his first day. It ordered sweeping dismantling of the federal government's diversity and inclusion programs. The president has called the programs discrimination and insists on restoring strictly merit-based hiring.
The federal government has until 5 p.m. today to comply with the demise of DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts were championed by the previous administration.
Many of the things that President Biden did, he did with executive orders, and what you can do by an executive order, you can usually undo by executive order.
Legal scholar Jonathan Turley expects the new president to move at breakneck speed in implementing the Trump agenda.
There is that sweet spot for a two-term president. The first 2 years, you really have to put a score on the board before halftime, because those last 2 years, the pace slows down considerably.
From DEI to AI, President Trump wants to invest in artificial intelligence. He's announced a $500 billion project to build a new supercomputer that'll develop the next generation of AI. Mr. Trump calls Stargate
the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America.
The new venture will start in the state of Texas. Steve Yates with the Heritage Foundation says Stargate sends a clear message to communist China when it comes to technological innovation.
And frankly, if I'm Xi Jinping of China, I have a little bit of a shiver in my spine that America just might be serious about competing and beating me.
The hope is that Stargate and its 100,000 employees will eventually help find cures for a host of diseases. Backlash is building after President Trump's executive action to end birthright citizenship. Attorneys general from 22 states are challenging the move. Birthright citizenship guarantees anyone born in this country citizenship status, regardless of where their parents are from. New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin.
This is an extreme and unprecedented act, and this executive order is an assault on the rule of law.
But Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt says birthright citizenship is a magnet for illegal immigration.
Birthright citizenship has created this perverse incentive for people to come here illegally, and if they have a child, then at that point that child would be a citizen.
The White House says these lawsuits are nothing more than an extension of the left's resistance to border order, and the Trump administration says it is ready to face them head on in court. A liberal bishop delivered a woke sermon on illegal immigrants and LGBTQ rights at the National Prayer Service yesterday. She did so in the presence of President Trump and Vice President Vance, who were sitting in the front row.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country. We're scared now.
Marianne Edgar Buddy is the Episcopal Bishop of Washington. Trump was not amused, saying afterward the bishop brought up politics in an ungracious way. Fox News religion correspondent Raymond Arroyo.
For this bishop to use this moment that's supposed to be an interfaith prayer service into a political lecture, it's really a misuse of religion here.
The inaugural faith service has been a tradition in this country since Ronald Reagan was president in the 1980s. 10 deaths now blamed on that historic snowstorm way down south. Forecaster Lonnie Quinn.
6 inches of snow in Pensacola. New Orleans, 9 inches. Places like Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, into maybe Raleigh, North Carolina. 3 to 6 inches for you.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
We're not necessarily used to walking in a winter wonderland here in Florida.
New Orleans got nearly a foot of snow. The Big Easy hasn't seen that ever, not even close. Up to 4 inches fell in Houston, where kids made snow angels in public parks.
This is an historic amount of snow for this city, and Houston is virtually shut down.
That's Janet Shamblian reporting. The death toll from the LA wildfires has now risen to 28. Rain in the forecast this week could cause deadly landslides. President Trump will visit fire-ravaged Southern California on Friday. The FDA has just approved a nasal spray to treat major depression.
The spray, called Spravato, is the first ever standalone therapy for treating major depressive disorder that fails to improve with standard drug regimens. Spravato, which has been used since 2019, along with an oral medication, can now be used by itself. Health experts say about a third of the 21 million U.S. adults who suffer from treatment-resistant major depression aren't getting relief from symptoms, which can include persistent sadness, insomnia, lack of energy, and suicidal ideations.
Sarah Lee Kessler reporting today marks the 52nd anniversary of the infamous Roe v. Wade decision, which legalized abortion in all 50 states. That ruling was overturned in the summer of 2022, and the abortion issue was sent back to the states. A memorial service is happening today at the U.S. Supreme Court in honor of the babies lost to the abortion holocaust. The Hall calls another batch of baseball greats. 3 former big leaguers got their tickets punched to Cooperstown last night. Headlining the class of 25 is Ichiro Suzuki. He's the first Japanese player ever voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Suzuki came just 1 vote shy of unanimous selection. Also inducted last night, pitching great CC Sabathia.
Just even to go in the Hall of Fame in general, is a big honor. But to go in first ballot, I know what that means as a baseball player, and it's super exciting.
Sabathia won over 250 games during his 19 years in the bigs. Closer Billy Wagner also joins the Hall in his final year of eligibility. Wagner recorded the second highest number of saves of any lefty in the game. We'll have more coming up in sports with Randy, and also ahead, digital distractions at school, PA's new AG, and transgender sports ban.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. The core of the cold air will be departing, which means we get a little break from the bitter over the next few days. Just a little. We'll have forecast details coming up in 10 minutes.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. That bitter cold is the reason why dozens of school districts across the listening area were closed again today. Regents exams that were supposed to happen in New York are being postponed in parts of Pennsylvania. The wind chill dipped to more than 20 below again this morning. Joe Brown lives in Western PA.
I had to get the long johns on. I had to go back in the house and regroup. The wind chill makes it worse.
Yeah, regroup. That's a good word for it. The good news, folks, is the cold will finally fold, and those lake flakes will finally fizzle as temperatures begin to moderate starting tomorrow. New York school students may soon be forced to give up their smartphones during the school day. Governor Hochul wants to ban those digital devices starting next fall. She says the move will benefit academic performance and improve mental health.
We're not developing this skills we need because kids are distracted with the cell phones. And how hard it is for our teachers trying to teach algebra and geography, and they're competing with viral dances and messages from their friends.
If adopted by the state legislature, no phone zones would be established in classrooms during lunch periods and even in the hallways during the school day, the so-called bell-to-bell phone ban. It should be noted that most school districts in New York already have some sort of cell phone policy. Dave Sunday's term as Pennsylvania Attorney General is now officially underway. The former York County DA was sworn in yesterday in Harrisburg. He says the office of AG must transcend politics.
I don't view this through the lens of political party. I view it through the lens of public safety and doing what's right for the community.
Sunday is the first Republican in a dozen years to serve as the Commonwealth's top law enforcement officer. Reaction continues pouring in after the release of a 42-year-old Dansville, New York man from the custody of the Taliban in Afghanistan. Ryan Corbett spent nearly 900 days in a dungeon after being detained while on a business trip 3 years ago. Western New York attorney Ryan Fahey specializes in unlawful detention cases.
This one was particularly challenging, and I think ultimately really was successful because of the strength of Ryan's wife, Anna, and their children, and being amazing advocates.
Anna Corbett lobbied for years to win the release of her husband. He was let go in a prisoner swap with the United States. Fahey says, however, these sorts of hostage diplomacy deals are risky.
It's been relied upon by Russia, by the Taliban in Afghanistan, and by others as a means of conducting foreign policy. And it's now the Trump administration's charge to find a way to deter this conduct so more American families don't have to go through what Anna and her family has.
Ryan Corbett is being evaluated at a military base in Texas before he'll fly back home to Dansville, New York. And what a homecoming that will be. A small win for a transgender sports ban in Nassau County, New York. A judge there refusing to block enforcement while legal challenges play out in court. Here's reporter Andrew Whitman.
The New York Civil Liberties Union is suing on behalf of an adult roller derby team with at least one transgender member. In his ruling, the judge said allowing transgender women to play on women's teams may present a danger to genetic women, given power differentials between the genders. That'll be at issue when the full case is heard. State Attorney General Letitia James is also challenging the law separately. Andrew Whitman, New York.
A lack of road salt prompted a Pennsylvania city to declare a state of emergency. The city of Gwinnett in Westmoreland County says several recent salt orders have gone unfilled, and until more arrives, Gwinnett officials say salt will be used sparingly on the roads. Sports is next. It's the 2-minute drill on Family Life.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob Macon 3 of 4 for the New York Knicks. They held off the Nets 99-95 last night. Karl Anthony Towns had a big night, scoring 25 points and hauling in 16 rebounds. D'Angelo Russell led Brooklyn with 23. Tyrese Maxey was the leading scorer in Philadelphia's game against the Nuggets in Denver with 28 points. He also dished out 10 assists, but the 76ers dropped their 7th straight game. The Nuggets manhandled Philly 144-109. Elsewhere on the hardwood, the Blazers, Raptors, and Lakers your winners. On the ice, Buffalo's down 2-1 entering the third period, but they came back to win it in Vancouver 3-2. Yuri Kulik had a goal and 2 assists. J.J. Peterka lit the lamp and dished out a helper. And Tage Thompson scored his team-leading 21st goal of the season. 5 different Rangers scored as New York shut out the Senators 5-0. Igor Shestorskin stopped all 20 shots he faced to earn the shutout. The Rangers have now won 5 of 7. The Flyers have won their third in a row, a 2-1 overtime victory against Detroit. Rasmus Ristolainen buried the game winner with less than 30 seconds left in the extra period. Also skating to wins, the Predators, Caps, Canadiens, Canes, and Panthers. In Major League Baseball, the Hall made the call to 3 former players. Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner have been elected into the Hall of Fame. Ichiro was just 1 vote short of being unanimously elected. For Wagner, he gets in on his final year on the ballot. That is a look at sports.
All right, better late than never. Thank you, Randy. Still to come, a break from the cold. Goodbye, DEI, and coping with the post-Christmas blues.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. A few weeks ago, researchers in Germany announced that they'd found the earliest evidence of Christianity north of the Alps. During excavations of a Roman cemetery in Frankfurt, Germany, a tiny, tightly wound silver scroll dating to the early 200s was found under the chin of a skeleton. The scroll was found in a phylactery, a kind of amulet worn on a cord around the neck. And this was an unusual thing to find in this part of the world. Amulets like it were far more common in the eastern Mediterranean, where they were used as protective charms against aches and pains, illness, infertility, or demons. That kind of superstition was common during time periods without the kind of medical knowledge we have today. Also, injuries and illness were quite common, judging from the evidence we find in skeletons. Over 1,800 years old, this amulet had folded, and it was creased so it could not be unrolled without it being destroyed. Instead, a high-resolution CT scan of the scroll was used to create a 3D model of the amulet, which was then digitally unrolled. It's pretty cool. And inside was a Latin inscription. That was also unusual since most were written in Greek. The text was clearly Christian, referring twice to Jesus Christ, the Son of God. There was also a quote from the Epistle to the Philippians, specifically when Paul said, "Every knee will bow, those in heaven, those on earth, and those under the earth, and every tongue confess Jesus Christ." And there were the words, "Holy, holy, holy," from Isaiah 6 and Revelation 4. Prior to this find, the earliest known post-New Testament Christian use of "holy, holy, holy" dated to the 4th century. The dating of this amulet pushes the arrival of Christianity north of the Alps nearly a century, and it places it at a time when being a Christian was quite dangerous. The persecutions of Christians have been common but sporadic since Emperor Nero in AD 64, so it's safe to assume that this man was pretty serious about his faith. Another surprising thing about this amulet, especially when compared to others found in the eastern Mediterranean, is the exclusive focus on Jesus. While it does acknowledge St. Titus, it does not mention things like angels or other supernatural beings. That's different from other amulets from the period, and not just pagan ones. For example, one amulet that was found in Bulgaria back in 2023, dated roughly to the same period as the Frankfurt one, included invocations of the archangels Michael and Gabriel and to the quote-unquote guardian Christ. Scholars speculate this could have been an attempt to disguise the owner's Christian faith. But other amulets include Jewish and pagan elements alongside Christ, indicating a syncretistic approach to Christianity. This is what's missing from the Frankfurt amulet. This discovery upends what scholars thought they knew about the spread of Christianity. Within the Roman Empire, Christianity was strongest in the Greek East. Also, most of the early major Christian thinkers, except for Tertullian, came from the East and wrote in Greek. Yet here we have, in a frontier town that was within decades of facing invading Germanic tribesmen, a committed Latin-speaking Christian whose faith is in Christ alone. The Christian faith presented in this amulet is of a purer kind than of comparable amulets in the empire's Christian heartland. And this Christ follower was in a region decades earlier than scholars thought Christians to be. At the very least, it's clear the gospel spread farther and faster than historians thought. And it's clear that communities of Christians have existed who escaped the prying eyes of both governments and scholars. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. Today's Breakpoint was co-authored by Dr. Glenn Sunshine. And for more resources to live like a Christian today, visit us at breakpoint.org.
Thank you, John. Let's head outside next. Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life weather forecast for this afternoon. Clouds and sun, high temperatures in the teens generally. And some clouds around tonight, low temperatures. Yeah, it's cold, but not as cold as recent nights. Most areas stay above zero. But tomorrow, some sun, but clouds will gather with afternoon flurries for some. High temperatures, upper teens and 20s. Friday, clouds, sun with some late flurries, and high temperatures, mid-teens to the middle 20s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Middle 20s sounds pretty good right about now. We're stuck in the single digits still this afternoon. Wednesday, the 22nd of January. And speaking of the weather, an historic storm is gripping the south from Texas to Florida and all points in between. This Floridian is stunned.
Welcome to Florida, and there is snow on the ground. There's snow on the pavement. There's snow on the palm trees. There's snow on the cars. There's snow everywhere, folks. It's Snowmageddon.
New Orleans got nearly a foot of snow, and the Big Easy hasn't ever seen that kind of weather. Reporter Katie Wise.
An historic weather event here in the Big Easy, the most snowfall the Big Easy has ever seen in its history.
States of emergency declared in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Goodbye, DEI. President Trump giving the federal government until today to eradicate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Correspondent Brooks Singman.
The president issuing the executive order that all federal diversity, equity, and inclusion offices must close by 5 p.m. today, and all of their staff must be put on paid leave. The White House says, quote, this order enforces long-standing federal statutes and faithfully advances the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law.
More on the demise of DEI from CBS's Nancy Cordes.
The 4-page memo instructs federal agency heads to cancel any DEI-related trainings and close all DEI offices. The memo went out just one day after President Trump signed an executive order giving agencies 60 days to terminate all DEI positions.
Mr. Trump says the federal government must employ merit-based hiring from now on. President Trump is linking up with 3 major tech gurus in a $500 billion AI infrastructure plan.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate, a new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Stargate will start in Texas and will create a new supercomputer that will develop the next generation of artificial intelligence. The largest police union in the country says it is deeply discouraged by Mr. Trump's pardoning of 1,500 January 6th protesters. The Fraternal Order of Police said in a statement that allowing criminals to go free sends a dangerous message that the consequences for attacking law enforcement are not severe, end quote. President Trump's declared a national emergency at the southern border, and that is music to the ears of some in law enforcement.
The morale right now is at an all-time high. I think now that we know that we have a strong ally at the federal level, which is something that we have not had in the last 4 years.
That's Lieutenant Chris Oliveris with the Texas State Troopers.
They feel like they can actually go out and do their job more efficiently, and they're going to have the support they need. They have stronger leadership now, so that really has raised their morale to epic proportions.
President Trump used an executive order to declare a national emergency at our border. He's also labeled drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Colorado's highest court has just weighed in on a dispute over elephant detention.
Colorado's Supreme Court has ruled that 5 elephants at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo cannot be released because the law cited in the suit applies only to humans. The Non-Human Rights Project argued the elephants were being held against their will in a way that was causing them stress and physical issues because of cramped conditions. The lawsuit cited a provision of the Constitution that lays out requirements for the detention and jailing of people.
Correspondent Cammie McCormick, sedentary work is reprogramming our sleep, and not for the better. If you find yourself struggling to fall asleep at night, your office chair might be to blame. A new decade-long study finds workers with sedentary jobs have almost a 40% increase in sleeping disorders. A popular streaming service is raising its prices.
Netflix says it added nearly 19 million subscribers during the quarter that included the holiday season, and it's raising prices. The standard plan with no ads ads will shoot up by $2.50 to $17.99 a month. The plan with ads will increase by $1 to $7.99.
Steve Kafin in Washington. This is the Noon Report, a midweek edition on Family Life.
Are you feeling the January blues? Today on Family Life's Inside Out, we'll be talking about that post-Christmas slump, the one that often hits after all the buildup to December 25th. I'm Martha Manikas Foster, and I like talking about how God can transform us from the inside out. My guest today is Lauren Dunn, who reports on education for the World News Group. Her 2021 article for Focus on the Family's Boundless is titled, Feeling the Post-Christmas Blues. Lauren, every year we have months of Christmas decorations in stores and neighborhood yards covered with inflatable angels in anticipation of one day. We build to a crescendo that culminates sometimes in just one evening worship service followed by a single morning of ripping open gifts. And then, it's over. You say that the truths and even the music and hymns of Christmas are worth celebrating all year long. So, Lauren, what are we getting wrong when we put Christmas away with the nativity set?
There is so much buildup, and then we wake up the next day and it's over. At least we think it's over, but it's really not, because when we think about what we celebrate at Christmas, how God chose to enter our world, become one of us, to save us from the sin that we could never save ourselves from, that's still true in January. It's still important in July, in October, every month of the year. In that article you mentioned, I talked about a sing-along that my church did in August of that year. And it was August, right? So it was hot outside.
Right.
The sun didn't set until late in the day, all that fun summer stuff. And as we took turns choosing a song that we would then all sing, one of my friends picked a Christmas song. I think it was Joy to the World. And there were some snickers. We were surprised by that choice of song. But really, we need more of that. Like, those songs do not need to be relegated to December.
It's amazing how much theology is in many of the Christmas hymns.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially with that song, Joy to the World, I was thinking of the verse, He comes to make His blessings known far as the curse is found. And we feel the effects of that curse every day of the year, right? So we really should be reminding ourselves of that truth, that He came to do away with it every day of the year, too.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Inside Out on Family Life, and I'm talking today with journalist Lauren Dunn, who's written about the post-Christmas blues. Lauren, we can feel this letdown after Christmas, and the world can seem cold and gray. And you know what? Sometimes, honestly, for a lot of us, it is cold and gray. Some of us would absolutely benefit from connecting with a counselor, and I commend that. But many of us can recalibrate on our own. What do you suggest?
Yeah, there are a lot of good tips out there for getting back into a healthy routine after all the craziness of December. So waking up at a consistent time, getting exercise, eating healthy, going outside, intentionally making time for friends, all of that does great to get you towards that. But as we're talking about Christmas specifically, I'm personally a big fan of leaving the decorations up a little bit longer. And I know that there's practical reasons sometimes, like especially if you have a live tree, to go ahead and take it down. But if we can, I think it's a great thing to try. There's something really special about a lit tree on a gloomy evening. And then delving deeper into that, too, this can be a great time to go through some of that Advent material or readings that maybe we didn't have time for in December
honestly,
when we had planned to go through it.
That's very
vulnerable.
Yeah,
exactly. We can just really continue seeping ourselves in those truths of Christmas, even as we're flipping the calendar pages. But one other thing I did want to mention, I think it's also important in this grayer time of year just to have that mindset shift of reminding ourselves that Jesus came for this too. He didn't just come for the big celebrations and the festivities and the special days. I mean, He's with us on those. But He came for real life, the daily grind. John Wesley said, the best of it is God is with us. And that's it. No qualifiers. No matter what's going on for me, for you today, God is with us in this. And that's Christmas. You shall call His name Emmanuel, God with us.
Somehow, every year when I'm writing notes inside of Christmas cards, the name Emmanuel always gets in there. That is so impressed on my heart, that God is with us. And when we think about the baby, sometimes we're thinking about a baby, but this is the incarnate God who is with us and who made that sacrifice to live with us. Of course, the story of Good Friday and of Easter is paramount, but He lived with us and felt what we feel, and that is so important.
Yeah, and I love that you connected it with Easter, too, because one other thing with Christmas, ironically, it's Santa Claus who's one and done with Christmas, right? He comes, he goes, then he just kind of keeps tabs on your behavior until next year from his faraway place. But Jesus came and lived with us, day in, day out. He became flesh and dwelt among us. And even when he returned to heaven, as you were talking about, he sent us the Holy Spirit. And so really, we can always celebrate that.
What an awesome conversation there with journalist Lauren Dunn on how to beat back the post-Christmas blues with our own Martha Meneikis Foster. This is the Noon Report for Wednesday on Family Life.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Though we are still in the grip of an Arctic air mass, the core of that air mass moves away tonight, and the cold that's coming will be more pedestrian. No big storms are due, and the lake effect has tapered, so we're going to get a little break from some of the harsh winter weather ahead. For this afternoon, clouds and sun, high temperatures in the teens generally, and some clouds around tonight, low temperatures. Yeah, it's cold, but not as cold as recent nights. Most areas stay above zero. But tomorrow, some sun, but clouds will gather with afternoon flurries for some. High temperatures, upper teens and 20s. Friday, clouds, sun with some lake flurries, and high temperatures, mid-teens to the middle 20s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Finally at noon, a one-of-a-kind baseball card has just been found, and it could be a home run on the auction block. Family Life's Brian Query.
One of baseball's most sought-after modern collector's cards came to light Tuesday. Collectors have been hunting for the one-of-one rookie debut patch autograph card of Rookie of the Year Paul Skeens ever since the release of the 2024 Topps Chrome Update set in November. The card has been found by an 11-year-old collector in Los Angeles. Many collectors have offered bounties for the card, most notably the Pittsburgh Pirates themselves, which have offered a package that includes 2 season tickets behind home plate for 30 years, a meet and greet with Skeens, 2 Skeens autographed jerseys, and a host of other unique experiences and items. Some collectors and card experts say the value of the card could be $1 to $1.5 million, with some saying it may go as high as $5 million. There is no word as of yet as to what the young man plans to do with this one-of-a-kind baseball find. Brian Query, Family Life News.
As a former baseball card collector myself, that is fascinating. Thank you very much, Brian. And that's our world, the world we live in, Wednesday, January 22nd. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.